The universe is a quiet place, but sometimes silence is broken. Far across the endless black of space, a pulse was detected. At first, it was small, nothing more than a flicker of energy bouncing between the stars. Many alien races ignored it. To them, it was just noise, like the crackle of fire in the distance. But for one alien empire, known across the galaxy for its pride and power, this signal caught their attention. The signal came from a small blue planet, tucked away at the edge of a spiral arm of the Milky Way. The planet was called Earth. 2. The alien empire. Humans were already known but only as weak, fragile creatures. They were spoken of as prey, nothing more than another young species still learning how to walk among the stars. The alien leaders laughed when they first studied the patterns of the signal. It looked like a simple human transmission, a call into the void. The arrogance of the empire was strong. These humans send messages, one alien commander said, his voice filled with scorn. But they do not understand what it means to be heard. Yet, hidden within the laughter, there was also a spark of curiosity. The signal was not random. It carried rhythm. It carried order. It was not the call of a lost child. It was something deeper, something that echoed with intelligence. Even the most advanced machines of the alien empire took time to decode it, and still, the full meaning was unclear. This was strange, and the aliens did not like strange things. The empire sent a council to study the matter. In their grand halls of black steel and glowing light, the rulers gathered. They looked at the planet Earth on their screens, a small world of water and land, spinning quietly under a yellow sun. "We could crush them in one day," said one general. His claws scraped the metal table as he spoke. "One day, and their world would burn." The others agreed. To them, this was not a question of danger, but of pride. If a weak race dares to send signals into the stars, then it must be reminded of its place. The council voted, and the decision was made. Earth would be visited, and humans would be shown what true power looked like. And so, the great ships of the empire began to move. They were vast and terrifying, ships larger than cities, shaped like blades cutting through the darkness of space. Their engines roared with power as they turned toward Earth. On board, soldiers prepared their weapons, sharp and gleaming with alien technology. They spoke of humans with laughter, saying the battle would be nothing but sport. But not everyone in the empire was laughing. A young scientist, smaller and weaker than the generals, studied the patterns of the human signal. Again, she saw something the others did not. The humans had hidden layers within the message. It was not only sound, but also mathematics, symbols, and strange codes. It was as if the humans were whispering secrets behind their words. The scientist tried to warn the council. She told them the signal was not simple, that it carried warnings and strength. But the council silenced her. To question the empire was dangerous, and she was ignored. Back on Earth, people did not know their message had been heard. For them, the signal was only a dream away to say, "We are here. We are not alone." Scientists on Earth had sent it decades ago, hoping someone might listen. They never imagined who would answer. In the quiet of the night, humans looked up at the stars, wishing for connection. They wanted to believe in peace, in friendship with others among the stars. They had no idea that warships were already on the way, carrying creatures who did not come for peace. The silence of space grew heavier as the alien fleet crossed the void. Weeks turned into months. The ships drew closer. On Earth, satellites continued to circle the planet, sending signals, unaware that soon they would see something they were never meant to see. In the alien command ship, the general stood before a wide screen showing Earth. His sharp teeth glinted in the light. "They are small," he said. "They are weak. We will crush them, and their message will become their last." But outside the ship, in the darkness of space, the stars continued to shine. They had seen many battles, many wars, and many empires rise and fall. The stars knew a truth that the aliens had forgotten. Humanity was not as weak as it seemed. The unknown signal was not just a call, it was a warning. And soon, the empire would learn the meaning of that warning. Because humans, when pushed to the edge, were not prey. They were predators waiting to be awakened. The silence before the storm grew deeper. and the universe seemed to hold its breath. Something was about to happen, something that would change the balance of power in the galaxy forever. The first time the alien fleet appeared in Earth's skies, it was not with subtlety. The darkness of night tore open as streaks of fire crossed the heavens. People on every continent looked up, believing at first that they were seeing meteors, or perhaps a failing satellite. But these lights did not vanish. They grew larger, brighter, until the shapes of massive ships blotted out the stars themselves. Panic spread like wildfire. Cities went silent as fear gripped every heart. From the deserts to the oceans, people watched in awe and terror as alien warships hovered above the planet, blocking the sunlight. Their size was monstrous, their design cold and sharp. Machines of war that looked less like vessels and more like weapons aimed at the Earth itself. A signal came, booming across every device, every channel, every screen. The voice was harsh, filled with static, yet it carried a message all could understand. Humans. The alien commander declared, "You are fragile, you are weak. Your time as masters of this world is over. Bow before us, and we may let you serve." The words spread across the planet, echoing in the ears of billions. Some broke down in fear. Some prayed, some screamed, but others clenched their fists. In the shadows of fear, something fierce stirred inside humanity. The message was meant to crush their spirit, but instead, it lit a fire. World leaders tried to respond, sending their own broadcasts of defiance, but the aliens laughed. Their technology jammed every channel with ease. It was clear that words alone would not stop what was coming. The only language these invaders understood was power, and humanity would need to speak it. The first wave of alien soldiers descended. They came in dropships, slamming into the ground like thunder. Their forms were tall, armored, claws gleaming under strange light. Weapons unlike anything humans had seen pulsed with energy in their hands. Their confidence was absolute to them. The battle was already won, but humans did not stand idle. Across the world, armies gathered, soldiers in steel helmets and body armor, holding weapons that seemed small compared to the aliens' shining rifles. Tanks rolled, jets screamed across the skies, and hidden in underground bases, new prototypes were Reddit machines and weapons developed in secret, never tested in real war. When the first shots were fired, the ground shook. Alien energy blasts tore through buildings, slicing concrete like paper. But the humans answered with fire. Bullets tore into the invaders, rockets screamed into the air, and explosions painted the night. The aliens expected humans to scatter, to run, to surrender in terror. But the humans did not. They held the line. In one city, an alien squad marched forward, expecting no resistance. Instead, they walked into a trap. Streets collapsed under their weight, swallowing them into pits, lined with explosives. The ground erupted, tearing their armored bodies apart. In the smoke, human soldiers emerged, shouting with fury as they fired. What the aliens thought were weaklings turned out to be hunters. The invaders underestimated human creativity. They were used to straightforward wars, crushing opponents with superior firepower. But humans were different. They fought dirty. They improvised. They used the very environment as a weapon. Bridges collapsed onto enemy columns. Rivers were redirected to flood alien machines. Even simple tools became deadly in human hands. The aliens began to feel something they had not felt in centuries: confusion. Every victory came at a cost. Every advance was slowed by ambushes, traps, and resistance fiercer than they imagined. What should have been a swift conquest turned into a grinding battle. In the alien command ship, the general snarled in frustration. "These creatures are reckless," he said. "They throw themselves into death, yet they do not break. Why do they not break?" The young scientist who had once warned about the signal whispered quietly, "Because they are not what you think they are. You see weakness, but weakness can hide strength." On Earth, as cities burned, stories of bravery spread like wildfire. A single squad holding a bridge against overwhelming odds. A pilot crashing his own jet into an alien dropship to protect the people below. Families refusing to flee, instead standing beside soldiers to fight. Humanity was bleeding, but humanity was not bending. The aliens had expected a prey animal. What they faced instead was a predator that had survived countless wars of its own making, a species that had learned through blood and fire to never surrender. The sky above Earth glowed red. With fire, ships clashed, missiles tore through the air. In the deserts, armored vehicles dueled against towering alien walkers. In the oceans, submarines stalked enemy carriers. Everywhere, the fight raged. And though the aliens had power, the humans had something far more dangerous: desperation, combined with determination. In the heart of the chaos, one soldier stood at the front lines, his armor dented, his face covered in dust. Around him, comrades shouted, weapons thundered. The enemy advanced. He raised his rifle and screamed into the roar of battle, a scream that was picked up by voices all across the world. It was not a scream of fear. It was a scream of defiance. For the first time, the aliens felt a crack in their arrogance. Humanity had refused to kneel, and with every passing moment, it became clear the war they thought would last a single day had only just begun. The war that had begun with fire from the skies now turned into something far greater. The aliens thought they had seen the extent of human resistance, but they were wrong. The first battles were only sparks, and now those sparks ignited into a storm. Every continent became a battlefield. Alien dropships filled the skies, their weapons carving through human defenses. While soldiers of flesh and steel fought desperately below, the invaders moved with discipline, their formations precise, their confidence unshaken. Yet, every time they advanced, they found themselves trapped in the chaos that humans created so naturally. In the mountains, alien machines marched along narrow paths, only for the cliffs to erupt above them. Rocks and fire rained down, crushing their mighty walkers. In dense cities, humans vanished into shadows, only to strike from alleys and rooftops, disappearing again before the aliens could respond. Guerrilla tactics, traps, sabotage. This was not a war the Empire had prepared for. The aliens fought to dominate. Humans fought to survive, and survival gave them strength the invaders had never faced. On the plains of Eastern Europe, a massive alien beast was unleashed, taller than any tank, its scales glistening under the smoke-filled sky. It roared, shaking the earth, and the alien troops cheered, believing this living weapon would break the human lines. But the humans had prepared. Tanks rolled into formation, artillery thundered, and soldiers coordinated with precision born not of pride, but of necessity. Rockets struck, fire swallowed the beast, and though it raged and tore through the front, it finally fell under a storm of human determination. The cheers of the aliens died in their throats, replaced with something they had forgotten. In space, the battle grew fiercer. Human satellites and defense stations, small compared to the Empire's fleet, began to adapt. Engineers redirected power grids, turned communication satellites into weapons, and linked systems together in ways the aliens had never considered. Improvised, desperate, yet effective, a single human station, overloaded with stolen alien frequencies, pulsed an energy wave that blinded an entire enemy cruiser, leaving it helpless before human missiles finished the job. The aliens could not understand how humans fought this way. Every tactic broke the rules of war as they knew it. Nothing was clean, nothing was predictable. Yet it was working. The general aboard the command ship watched as reports arrived, each one describing unexpected resistance. His jaw tightened, his claws scraping against the arm of his throne. "They are insects," he growled, "and yet they sting." But the young scientist, who had been ignored before, studied the battle feeds with wide eyes. "They are not insects," she whispered. "They are fire. The more you try to stamp them out, the brighter they burn. On Earth, the price of survival was high. Cities lay in ruins, smoke blackened the skies, and rivers of refugees moved across shattered landscapes. Yet in every group of survivors, someone carried a weapon. Someone was ready to fight. The will of humanity had spread like a disease. The aliens could not cure. In South America, farmers armed with hunting rifles brought down alien scouts by luring them into jungles where no technology could save them. In Asia, entire villages vanished underground, hiding in ancient tunnels and caves, only to emerge behind alien patrols at night. In Africa, Tribes and modern armies fought side by side, their unity stronger than the Empire's pride. Every land, every culture, every people rose together not as nations, but as one species. This unity was something the aliens had never seen before. Empires across the galaxy often fell not because of strength, but because of division. Yet here, at the edge of the galaxy, stood a species that had fought itself for centuries, learned from its scars, and now turned all of that fury against a common enemy. The aliens began to realize something horrifying. The humans were not just defending, they were learning. Every battle taught them more about alien weapons, about alien armor, about alien strategy. What had started as desperate resistance was slowly becoming a counterattack. In one brutal clash, in the deserts of North Africa, humans captured alien weapons for the first time. They tore apart the rifles, studied the glowing cores inside, and within days, crude copies appeared in the hands of resistance fighters. The weapons hummed with unstable power, sometimes exploding, sometimes working perfectly. The aliens laughed when they first saw these stolen imitations, but the laughter died when those weapons cut through their armor just as well as the originals. The more the aliens fought, the more they understood that this was not going to end. Quickly, the humans were not giving up. The humans were growing stronger. On the battlefields, among the smoke and the blood, a single truth began to spread, not among humans, but among the invaders. Soldiers of the Empire whispered to one another when their commanders could not hear. They whispered that perhaps their leaders had made a mistake. Perhaps this species was not prey at all, but pride is a dangerous master, and the Empire's leaders refused to admit their error. They ordered more ships, more soldiers, more monsters. They would crush this world, no matter the cost. Yet, down on Earth, every drop of blood spilled only hardened human resolve. In the ruins of cities, children carried messages for fighters. Families shared their last food with soldiers. Even in the darkest nights, songs of defiance echoed in the air. The clash was no longer just survival. It had become something greater. Humanity was proving to the galaxy and to itself that weakness was only an illusion. Beneath the fragile skin of man lay steel, fire, and something that no empire could ever crush. And though the aliens still held the skies, the ground beneath, their feet no longer belonged to them. It belonged to the humans. Deep beneath the ruined cities of Earth, where sunlight no longer touched, something was waiting, hidden in secret facilities carved into mountains, buried under oceans, and disguised beneath ordinary buildings. Humanity had prepared for a day like this. They had never expected it to come so soon. But the warnings of history had taught them well. Survival meant planning for the impossible. The world above burned. Alien war machines thundered across continents, and the skies still glowed with the presence of their massive ships. But while the aliens believed they had humanity cornered, the truth was different. Humanity was not finished. Humanity was not broken. Humanity was about to reveal its secret. In one underground chamber, a group of engineers worked tirelessly, their faces lit by the glow of strange machinery. The walls shook from bombardments above, dust falling onto their desks, but their hands never stopped moving. Wires sparked, engines roared, and machines larger than tanks hummed with power. These were not ordinary weapons. They were the result of decades of research hidden from the world, projects dismissed as impossible, now brought to life out of desperation. That at the heart of it all was not a weapon of destruction, but a weapon of unity. For years, scientists had struggled to create systems that could connect soldiers across battlefields, linking minds, machines, and commands with perfect precision. The project was abandoned, too dangerous, too experimental. But now, with humanity on the edge of extinction, it was activated. The first soldiers stepped into sleek suits unlike anything ever worn before. The armor was lighter than steel, powered by an energy source reverse-engineered from fragments of alien technology, secretly recovered long ago. When the suits came alive, glowing lines traced across their surface like veins of fire, connecting each soldier not only to the armor but to one another. For the first time in history, human warriors moved as one mind. The aliens noticed the change almost instantly. In the ruins of a shattered city, a squad of invaders advanced confidently, their claws tearing through rubble as they searched for survivors. Suddenly, humans emerged from the smoke. But these were not the same scattered fighters from before. They moved with perfect coordination, their suits flashing with blue light, their weapons firing in deadly rhythm. The aliens fired back, confident their superior power would cut the enemy down. But every shot missed, deflected, or countered. The humans struck like lightning, their movements sharp, fast, impossible to predict. Within minutes, the invaders lay broken. Reports of these new soldiers spread quickly through the alien ranks. They called them the Connected, believing humans had merged themselves into a single hive mind. Fear crept into their voices when they spoke of them. But it was not just the suits. Humanity's real weapon was deeper, older, something no empire could ever understand. It was the human spirit, the drive to survive, to fight for family, for freedom, for the right to exist. The armor only amplified what was already there. As battles raged, more secrets were revealed. Hidden aircraft rose from underground hangars, designs kept off the books for years. They flew faster than alien scouts, their wings cutting through the clouds like knives. Submarines long thought to be retired rose from the depths, carrying weapons designed not just for water, but for space. Even the simplest tools were turned into weapons of resistance. A factory that once built cars was transformed into a plant forging shells strong enough to pierce alien armor. The aliens struggled to adapt. Every strategy they used was answered with new tricks, new traps, new weapons. They thought they had crushed the human spirit. Instead, they had forced humans to reveal what they were capable of. In the alien command ship, the general roared in anger as feed after feed showed his troops falling to this new resistance. His claws dug deep scratches into the metal floor. They are evolving, he snarled. Every hour, they grow more dangerous. The young scientist, who had warned of this from the start, looked at him with quiet fear. No, she said softly. They are not evolving. They have always been this way. You are only now seeing the truth. Down on Earth, soldiers wearing the glowing suits became symbols of hope. Civilians cheered as they marched through ruins, their helmets reflecting the fires of war. For the first time since the invasion began, the people believed they could win, and belief, more than weapons, was the deadliest force humanity possessed. The aliens tried harder. They deployed larger machines, towering monsters bred in labs, swarms of drones that darkened the sky. But every time they unleashed their fury, humanity answered with a strength that seemed to rise from nowhere. When one soldier fell, another picked up their weapon. When one city burned, survivors fought in the ashes. The harder the empire pushed, the stronger humanity became. What the aliens could not understand was simple. They saw weakness in human bodies, in fragile skin and small stature. But they failed to see the strength inside. Humanity had spent thousands of years fighting against nature, against each other, against impossible odds. Every war, every disaster, every trial had shaped them into survivors. And now, all of that history was aimed at one enemy. The war was no longer about Earth. It was about proving a truth the aliens refused to believe. Humanity was not prey. Humanity was the predator that had been underestimated for too long. As night fell over a battlefield in ruins, a squad of connected soldiers stood at the edge of the destruction, their suits glowing faintly in the darkness. Above them, alien ships circled like vultures. The soldiers raised their weapons, their movements unified, their voices silent, but their resolve unshakable. Somewhere deep inside the alien fleet, the first whispers of fear spread among the troops. The Empire had expected a quick victory. Instead, they had awakened a storm. The tide of war began to shift slowly, like the turning of a great wheel. At first, the change was almost invisible. The alien empire still held the skies, their fleets circling Earth like predators. Their soldiers still marched across ruined streets, and their weapons still burned with power far beyond human technology. But beneath that surface, something else was happening. Humanity was no longer running. Humanity was fighting back, and for the first time, the aliens felt resistance, pressing against them like an unmovable wall. Everywhere, battles erupted, not as desperate last stands, but as coordinated strikes. The connected soldiers in their glowing suits became the sharp edge of the human counterattack. They no longer fought only to survive, they fought to reclaim. In the shattered remains of New York, armored squads advanced block by block, driving alien forces into the rivers. In the deserts of Africa, ambushes trapped alien columns between shifting dunes, where human artillery rained destruction from hidden positions. The aliens answered with their greatest weapons, towering war machines, beasts bred from alien genetics, drones that filled the skies like swarms of black insects. To them, it was the ultimate show of power, but to humanity, it was only another challenge. On the plains of Central Asia, one of the Empire's largest war beasts was released. It was larger than any creature that had ever walked the earth, its footsteps shaking the ground like earthquakes. Its roar echoed across mountains, shattering windows miles away. Alien commanders believed this would finally crush human morale, but instead, it became the stage for one of humanity's greatest moments. A small unit of connected soldiers, their suits glowing like fireflies in the dust, stood in the beast's path. Their commander gave no speech, no orders beyond a simple call, hold. They scattered across the battlefield, moving like a single organism, their weapons striking at weak points in the creature's armor. Tanks moved into position, jets screamed overhead, and artillery thundered from hidden ridges. Hours of coordinated firepower rained down on the beast until finally, with a final roar, it collapsed into the earth. Dust rose in a great cloud, and when it cleared, humans still stood, weapons raised in defiance. Across the world, footage of the battle spread, and for the first time, the aliens realized their terror tactics no longer worked. The humans were not afraid. In space, the struggle was just as fierce. Alien cruisers patrolled the orbit, their cannons burning holes into Earth's defense lines. Yet the humans adapted. Old space shuttles, never designed for war, were refitted with crude weapons. Satellites were hacked, turned into makeshift bombs. A fleet of hidden submarines surfaced, launching missiles so high that they pierced the atmosphere and struck alien carriers. The Empire's fleet, once untouchable, now bled under the onslaught. The alien general grew more enraged with every report. Victory should have been simple, but instead, every victory cost more soldiers, more machines, more blood. He roared to his commanders, "How can they resist? How can these fragile creatures stand against us?" The young scientist answered quietly, though her voice trembled, "Because you gave them no choice. And when humans have no choice, they find a way." On Earth, unity grew stronger each day. Nations that had once fought one another stood side by side. Soldiers from different flags marched under one banner. Farmers gave food to armies. Engineers repaired weapons with scraps. Children carried messages through ruined streets. Humanity had turned into something the aliens had never expected. One unstoppable force. And then came the first true counterattack. In South America, human forces struck at an alien command center hidden in the Amazon. The jungle became alive with traps and fire. Entire squads of invaders vanished into swamps, never to return. Explosions ripped through the alien base as human soldiers advanced, their glowing suits cutting through the dark like stars. For the first time since the invasion began, an alien stronghold fell completely into human hands. The news spread across the galaxy-wide empire, carried in whispers and rumors. Soldiers who had once mocked humans now lowered their voices when they spoke of them. They began to wonder if their leaders had led them into a war they could not win. But pride is a heavy chain, and the alien general refused to break it. He ordered more ships, more weapons, more beasts. The invasion would continue, no matter the cost. Yet every new weapon seemed to only harden human resolve. When the aliens sent more, humans gave more. When the aliens unleashed terror, humans answered with courage. In the ruins of Europe, fires burned across the skyline. But in those flames stood a vision of something greater. For every human who fell, another rose. For every city lost, another was defended. And slowly, step by step, the impossible began to happen. The tide turned. The invaders, who had once believed themselves untouchable, began to retreat from some regions. Not far, not yet, but enough for humans to feel it. Enough to show that victory was not only possible, but within reach. The invaders had come to teach humanity its weakness. Instead, they were learning about its strength. The stars above watched in silence as the battle raged on, but the silence was no longer filled with despair. It was filled with the sound of resistance, of humanity rising, of an empire's pride breaking piece by piece, and deep within the alien command ship, for the first time, the general felt something he had never allowed himself to feel, not anger, not arrogance, but fear. The war that had begun as a show of alien dominance was no longer the same war. The skies still shimmered with the presence of colossal ships, and cities still burned under their weapons. But the rhythm of battle had changed. Humanity no longer fought only to hold ground. They fought to break the enemy's spirit, and piece by piece, it was working. Alien soldiers who once marched with unshaken confidence now hesitated before entering ruined streets. Their commanders barked orders, but the soldiers' eyes betrayed something new, uncertainty. For the first time, they knew that stepping onto human soil meant stepping into a trap everywhere. The humans fought harder than logic should allow. They had no superior armor, no advanced technology compared to the Empire. But they had something stronger, the will to endure. On the front lines, soldiers fought until their last breath, buying precious minutes for their comrades to strike back. Civilians who had nothing left to lose picked up weapons and joined the fight. Children carried supplies across dangerous streets. Entire communities rose together. It was as though the very planet had turned against its invaders. In one battle, deep in the ruins of Asia, an alien commander deployed a war machine the size of a skyscraper, its cannons capable of melting steel in seconds. The beastly machine rolled forward, shaking the earth, and the aliens cheered, certain that nothing could stop it. But hidden in the wreckage, human engineers had been waiting. They had studied its movements, mapped its armor, and found its weakness. With homemade explosives, jury-rigged launchers, and fearless sacrifice, they swarmed the machine like ants bringing down a giant. And when it finally collapsed in flames, the cheer that rose from human fighters echoed across continents. The alien general watched these events unfold with rage that burned hotter than the fires of war. Reports filled his command room, each one speaking of failures, of losses, of human resistance that refused to break. His claws scraped against the steel floor, leaving deep scars with every movement. "They are flesh," he growled to his officers. "They are nothing. How do they stand against us?" But none of his officers dared to answer, because the truth was already clear. The humans were not supposed to fight this way. Every empire the aliens had ever conquered fell quickly. Every species eventually bent the knee. But not Earth. Earth was different. The young scientist, the one voice who had spoken of danger before the war began, stood quietly in the corner of the chamber. Her words were soft, almost a whisper, but they carried the weight of truth. "They stand because they have always stood. You mistook scars for weakness. But scars are proof of survival. You thought them fragile, but fragility taught them endurance. They are not what you believed." Her words were ignored again, but in the silence of the officer's eyes, the truth lingered. On Earth, the breaking point came not from one great victory, but from countless small ones. A patrol destroyed here, a convoy ambushed there, alien war machines falling one by one, their losses piled higher than they could replace, while humanity only grew stronger. What unsettled the invaders most was how quickly humans adapted. In weeks, stolen alien weapons were reshaped into human hands. In days, captured technology was dismantled, studied, and used against its makers. Every failure taught humanity a lesson. Every defeat became the seed of a new strategy. The invaders had never faced a species that could learn so quickly, not only to survive, but to strike back harder each time. And then came the moment the aliens could no longer deny. In South America, a massive alien fortress stood as a symbol of empire control. It was thought untouchable, surrounded by shields, guarded by legions. But the humans attacked anyway, with coordinated strikes, underground tunnels, and waves of resistance fighters. They broke through the defenses. The battle raged for 3 days and 3 nights. When it was over, the fortress fell. Humanity had not only defended their world, they had taken enemy ground. Across the Empire's fleets, whispers spread. Soldiers spoke of humans not as prey, but as monsters in their own right. An enemy that grew stronger the more it was hurt. An enemy that fought not only with weapons, but with spirit. Fear crept into alien hearts, a poison that spread faster than their leaders could contain. In the command ship, the general stared at a map of the war. Red marks of conquest still covered Earth, but black cracks of resistance spread like a disease. His teeth clenched, his voice trembling with fury. "We cannot lose," he spat. "We are the Empire. We do not fall to primitives." But his words sounded hollow, even to himself. He could feel it now, the shift. The war was no longer in his hands, for the first time in his life. The general felt the cold touch of fear. On the battlefields of Earth, humans lifted their weapons high, their voices roaring into the smoke-filled skies. They had been underestimated, mocked, and attacked, but they had proven themselves stronger than anyone had ever believed. The breaking point had come, but it was not humanity that was breaking. It was the Empire. The final days of the war were unlike anything the galaxy had ever witnessed. The alien empire had poured its strength into Earth, a force that had conquered countless worlds. Now locked in a struggle it could not control, the skies above the planet burned with fire as human weapons and alien fleets clashed in endless duels. The ground below was scarred by battles so fierce that entire landscapes had been reshaped. Yet, through it all, one truth had become clear. Humanity would not break. The Empire had underestimated its enemy from the beginning. What they thought would be a swift conquest had turned into a nightmare, a quagmire where every step forward was paid for in blood. They had expected surrender, but found defiance. They had expected fear, but found fury. And now, at the end, they faced something they had never truly faced. Before defeat, the last great battle began in the ruins of Europe. Alien forces gathered for one final push, their machines lining the horizon, their ships looming above like black clouds ready to rain fire. Their commanders believed this was their last chance to crush human resistance before the war spread further out of their control. Every soldier was ordered into the fight. Every weapon was unleashed. The aliens roared with determination, but beneath that roar was desperation. Across from them, humanity stood ready, soldiers in glowing suits, battered tanks, and improvised weapons lined up across shattered fields. They had no grand speeches, no need for words. Every man, woman, and child who fought that day knew what was at stake. It was not just Earth. It was their right to exist. It was the right of their children to live free. And so they lifted their weapons, eyes burning with fire, waiting for the storm to begin. When it came, it was chaos. The alien fleet opened fire. From the skies, beams of energy ripping the ground apart. Explosions swallowed entire blocks of ruined cities. Alien soldiers charged with claws and blades, their monstrous beasts roaring at their sides. The earth trembled under their advance. But the humans did not falter. The connected soldiers moved as one, weaving through destruction like shadows of steel and light. Artillery hidden in forests thundered in unison. Fighters streaked across the skies, dropping missiles with deadly precision. Everywhere the aliens pushed, the humans pushed back harder. The battlefield became a storm of fire, smoke, and blood. Where neither side showed mercy, hours passed, and still the humans stood. For every soldier who fell, another stepped forward. For every position lost, another was taken back. The alien general watched from his command ship, his eyes wide with disbelief as his forces, once unstoppable, began to fracture. Reports came of units destroyed, machines captured, entire squads refusing to advance. His empire's pride was crumbling, and he could not stop it. On the ground, one human squad cut its way through alien lines, striking at the heart of the invasion. Their weapons blazed, their movements perfect. As though guided by something greater than themselves, they reached the alien command node, the hub that directed the machines of war. With explosions that shook the heavens, they destroyed it, cutting the invaders off from their coordination. Suddenly, the Empire's forces fought blind, their advantage gone. The turning point became unstoppable. Human resistance surged forward like a tide breaking a dam. Alien soldiers, who had once sneered at their prey, now cried out in fear. As they were hunted through streets and forests, their mighty machines, built to terrify, burned in heaps of twisted metal, their fleet, shaken and scattered, began to pull back, leaving Earth's skies for the first time since the war began. The alien general refused to accept what his eyes saw. He slammed his fists against the console, his voice breaking as he shouted, "We are the Empire. We cannot fall to this world." But deep down, he already knew the Empire had lost. Not just the battle, not just the war. It had lost something greater, the illusion of its superiority. When the final ship of the invasion retreated into the black of space, silence fell over Earth. Cities still smoked, ruins stretched for miles, and countless lives had been lost. But the planet still stood, humanity still stood. Bloodied, scarred, but unbroken, across the ruined fields, survivors raised their voices, not in despair, but in triumph. The words spread like fire, whispered, shouted, sung in every language. We are still here, in the galaxies beyond. The message spread quickly. Whispers carried from one world to another, from one empire to the next. Aliens who had mocked humans now spoke their name with caution. They had underestimated the fragile creatures of Earth, and they had been proven wrong. For the humans themselves, victory was not only survival, it was a declaration. The universe now knew the truth. Humanity was not weak. Humanity was not prey. Humanity was a force that would rise again and again, no matter the odds. And as the stars shone down on the scarred surface of Earth, a quiet promise was made, not just to the invaders who had fled, but to the universe itself. Never again would humanity be underestimated. Never again would they bow. Because when the galaxy looked upon Earth now, it no longer saw fragility. It saw strength. Strength that came not from weapons, not from machines, but from the unbreakable will of a species that refused to die. The Empire had come to teach humans their place. Instead, it was humanity that had taught the Empire a lesson that would echo through the stars for generations to come.